Have you ever heard the expression, nature is scary? That's the perfect phrase to really just summarize the events within this episode of Dr. Stone. When you see the depiction of the sulfuric acid that was shown in this episode, looking like a beautiful goddess, which is obviously reference to what Mother Nature is, you know, it's very symbolic in a way, because usually the things that look very beautiful, there's a lot of things actually in Mother Nature that look very beautiful, but in the end are very, very dangerous, poisonous, venomous, just overall lethal, whatever it may be. That's usually the case, and I think that the way Dr. Stone went out of its way to depict Mother Nature, especially something like the hot spring or the sulfuric acid lake that we saw within this episode, was perfect, because when you look at, let's say, something like Yellowstone National Park, if you live in the United States and you know about the iconic images of Old Faithful, etc., or if you know about anything of volcanic activity where there's these little hot spots around it where there's these, like, geysers and stuff, basically, if you know, they're very beautiful. They're very colorful, they're very beautiful, they stand out, but at the same time, even though they're so beautiful, they're great tourist attractions, they're very deadly. They can kill people in a split second with one wrong decision. And that's kind of something that this episode really did a good job with. And I just like the serious tone that Senku gave Chrome. Like, he's like, people will die, you will die. Like, I just love the story of where the dude had to tie his shoes, he bent down to tie his shoes, and he died. And the thing is, this is actually true. It's something that can definitely happen, and let me explain the reason. The reason for it is because when it comes to the, the gas that it emits, sometimes it's on a lower level, which the episode kind of explains, and when the dude bent down to tie his shoes, the gas was just so toxic, it instantly gave him a lethal blow because he inhaled. He died. And it's just scary to think about because something like this does happen. It can happen. I mean, there's cases to where there's like a pocket that opens up like near Yellowstone or something to where it just kills all of the trees and birds in the area because it just has a brief surge of gas that comes out of the ground. That's kind of what this is. And it's a very deadly thing to look at. And I think that, once again, Dr. Stone really just goes to show how you, at the same time, to get where we're at in society, where we're at with technology, humanity's had to overcome a lot of different things, a lot of trial and error issues and all that, and the overall sulfuric acid, like, lakes that we see is definitely something that was probably the scariest thing for humankind to really ever tackle, because, I mean, imagine going into literally something that could kill you in a split second. You have one breath of that gas, you're pretty much dead. You're not getting back up again, and it's so quick, you don't really have time to do anything. It's scary. It's really scary. So imagine the people that have gotten such a great compound for today. For instance, sulfuric acid is a very important ingredient in a lot of things we use today for everything, for common goods, medicine, etc. So imagine just the risk the first individuals had to take just to get something like that to be able to experiment and for us to be able to use it on such a wide scale of what we do now. Which, by the way, I do want to talk about something that I think many are going to be a little bit upset with while watching this episode, and I kind of want to clarify. From my brief understanding, I'm not like a scientist or anything like Senku or Chrome, but from my brief understanding, I think I could kind of answer some questions that someone has about why Senku didn't use a rope or something else like a pulley system to be able to grab the liquid, the water, outside of, the spring. Like, why didn't Senku construct something like that? And like I said, I'm not saying I'm a scientist. I could be completely wrong with what I'm about to say. But from my brief assumption, I'm assuming that the reason why Senku didn't really think of any pulley system was because anything he can make with current technology he has would not be able to withstand the might of the sulfuric acid, the acid from that lake. It would literally melt a rope or burn a rope. It would also destroy any form of bucket mechanism or pulley mechanism because of the heat in the area. I just think overall that it would not be good at all, because you got to think about this. To make like a pulley system, with their current technology, they would have to use goods like rock, they would have to use goods like, I guess wood and all that, different things that can burn very easy. And I know you're thinking, like, rock can't really burn. That may be true, but because of how heated the area is and how the sulfuric acid works, it could still mess with stone and stuff if they tried to make something like out of a bucket or whatever, and that's why glass is kind of a good thing for it. And I feel like that if they were to try to use a rope, it would burn and the bucket would fall in, and it would really just delay the entire process, and they don't have time to do trial and error like that. So the most surefire way to be able to get it would probably be through the glass bottles they were using. But like I said, just the brief thing I wanted to explain is I think the reason why a pulley system wasn't made was because it would not work with current tech. I just think it would burn very easy, and that was something that just can't be done right now. Like, eventually if they're able to get a hold of certain materials that are able to be made, let's say like titanium or whatever, or like major applications of steel, maybe then, something like that could be made. But at this time, I just don't think it's quite possible with the current tech to be able to really get sulfuric acid in any easier way. Like, there's no easy method to it, and that's why it's just so dangerous. I just don't think it was there just to create drama and conflict within this episode. I think there's definitely more to it, but I do think that maybe the episode could present it in a better way. Maybe it might be explained in the next episode. But okay, stopping that for now, though, let's talk about the events within the episode, the character development, etc. that we got that really just shows the beauty of Dr. Stone. Chrome has a really great moment. A great moment, in fact, to where he basically tells Senku that, you act like you're a scientist, you act like you're logical and all that, but wouldn't the logical thing be to use me as bait, as a sacrifice, for you can live on since you have all the knowledge? And honestly, coming from Chrome's perspective, it does make a lot of sense. Because, Senku was telling Chrome, like, okay, Chrome, this is very dangerous, and I'm gonna do this, I could probably die, I want you to stay behind because you need to be able to carry on the knowledge of humanity, science itself. And he's like, you gotta stay back. And so I'm gonna give you all my knowledge I have right now, right here, because I don't want it to be lost. Because if we both die, science is lost from this planet, probably for a very long time. And that's the point here, is that what he was basically saying is that he was willing to sacrifice himself. But then Chrome realized, like, wait a minute. You're telling me you're wanting to sacrifice yourself, put your life out there, but then you're telling me to stay behind. And it's obvious, if you think about this from a logical point of view, that I should go, since I don't know as much as you. I'm technically not as valuable. I should be thrown away, technically. And he was like saying, what are you trying to do? Be like my mother, trying to be like protective hen or something over me? And it's a really great moment that kind of exposed Senku as an individual, is that he has definitely grown close to Chrome. He has definitely thought of Chrome kind of probably like a little brother. He cares about him a lot, and he wants to protect him. And you can see that in some cases Senku does use logic, but sometimes he uses his heart over anything else. And that's kind of what he did in that moment. And Chrome kind of had to wake him up, and he's like, look, man, I'm a scientist too. Stop looking at me and being pretentious or whatever. Stop acting like I am a weaker individual, that all that. It's like, you need to protect me. I can do what I want. I can make the calls that I want. And honestly, if I'm there with you, potentially we could help each other out. And honestly, I think that's a great thing that he said, because it does raise the chances of survival. Because, like, if someone slips and falls, someone can grab the other and pull them up, which is technically what happened within this episode. So yes, I do think Chrome's thought process of what he was saying does ring very true. It does raise up their survivability. But at the same time, though, it is very risky and dangerous because, once again, if they both die, science is gone. So, there's a lot of things from that moment that really just show character development that Chrome got, because he became his own man. He wasn't trying to live in Senku's shadow. He was truly rising up to the top to be on the same level as Senku, and I respect that. And also to see how he kind of, like, he didn't want to learn knowledge through the cost of, his friend. Basically, if he would have gained all the knowledge from Senku, then Senku could have died without worry. basically Senku was like, if I die, at least my knowledge is still here, and the world doesn't come to an end. And see, Chrome didn't want that. He didn't want Senku to feel like it's okay to die. He did not want that emotion at all in Senku's head, so that's why he denied that knowledge too. And it's great to see someone like Yuzu that was above watching them silently to also realize how similar she is to Chrome. For instance, how she was someone that didn't want to carry on the mantle from her sister, because if she would have gained all the knowledge of the 100 different stories or whatever from her sister to become the next priestess, then her sister could have died with ease, because that means that she could give up her life because she doesn't need to live anymore. And so she didn't want to do that. She wanted her sister to resist death as long as possible, and she didn't want to just basically be a replacement. She wanted her sister to live. So there's just a lot of good moments between Chrome and, you know, Yuzu, and also Senku. The development between those characters, it's great, and I just think that this episode is fantastic for showing that. So, anyways, Let's get into the stuff with the silver spear. I think that's very fascinating. It's definitely great to see how that turned into a detector for, you know, the gas. And when it turns black, it means that you need to back the hell up, because that means you're probably going to die. And I just like how there was all of that suspense in that moment, because that is something that happens in real life. It's a invisible killer. It's something that you cannot see, but it is there. And I just like the suspense as, you know, the character, how Genro kept going forward. He didn't know what to expect. He didn't know what was going to happen at any given moment, but then he chose to charge in and save his friends because he had the courage. He had the courage to go in, and he developed and manned up. So there's a lot of character development within this episode to really just show the courage of these individuals and how they're willing to go in there and not back down and all that. So Dr. Stone is really just such an amazing series. Easily one of my favorite series of this year of anime, and I'm really heavily considering, you know, reading the manga, honestly, once the anime ends, if we don't get a Season 2 announcement. Speaking of which, of manga and stuff, I actually ordered the manga and all that. I got all the updated volumes up to Volume 7 of Dr. Stone, and so if I do decide to read it, at least I'll have it. But I think I'm going to wrap up this video here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How'd you feel about the potential best girl that was Mother Nature? Do you think that she's scary? Be honest in the comments below. But I love you guys. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, Chibi out.